Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault with us. Good morning, Eddie.
Morning, sir.
Thank
Morning,
you.
man. How are you?
For coming back. Eddie and NorCal Gun Vault, big radvertisers and popular guests because people have a lot of questions about guns, ammo, laws. It is, by the way, we were talking for the brief time we had here. It is officially hunting season, and you have not just guns, but I assume you have everything because you got that when you walk in, you got all the apparel and you got camo stuff and everything.
No, we don't. It's too much competition with the big boys.
Don't even bother with it.
We don't bother with it.
Okay.
We just focus on the ammo and the firearms and maybe some small things like hunting sticks, things like that, tripods and the rangefinders, scopes, things like that.
Okay, so all that stuff. You get into any of that, the baiting stuff or all that? No. Just go somewhere else. Yeah. You're there for the actual sportsman. Yeah. And we should point out, because I know it's a big thing for you, if you've got kids that want to get into hunting, you love to walk people through getting the kids their first guns.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a couple there that are real good for first-time hunters, and we have a little 8-year-old, one of our customers, Mr. Gonzalez's daughter. And
is that the one who got the purple gun?
Oh my gosh, how
she was in the other day. And,
oh my gosh, that's adorable.
She wants a bigger one.
So if you got a question for Eddie, it's 888-989-9811. We did get a bunch of emails as requested, rad@radradio.com, and I just picked this one, Eddie, because we've gotten so many like this since you were on last time. This came in last week. Guy says, I went to get ammo, and they said I needed to have a gun bought at my new address to buy ammo. I have all my certificates and cards. Even one of my hunter friends went to get ammo and got denied too. What is going on? Does that question make sense to you? Okay.
Yeah, we get it. So there's two ammo checks. There's the basic check and there's the standard check. The standard check's $1. The basic check is $19. The standard check runs through it's just going through a database. And so the AFS system, which the DOJ uses for registering firearms and having it in their database, is about 5 years old. If you have registered a firearm within the last 5 years to the address that's on your driver's license, they're looking for that match. It'll go through that system, $1 system, and be done in less than a minute.
How long is that good for? You have to pay $1 every time?
Yeah, every single time. So it's yeah, and you have to go through it every time. Now we have a procedure on how to go on to what's called CFARS, which is their website for that, and to update your information, and then the $1 check will be fine. So it's just a matter of them keeping up with your current address. If you don't have that, you can buy ammo, but it's the $19 check, and you have to wait for an approval, and it could be 3 days. It's usually about 24 hours, but it can take up to 3 days, and they have 30 days to okay it, but that hasn't happened yet.
That's if your address doesn't match.
Right. Somebody physically has to look at the application, so it takes a little longer to do, but the automated one is quick.
We should point out, obviously, since we're also based in Reno and we're listening across these are California-specific things that we're talking about here. Laws are different in every state. Now, there was last time you were on, there was also a lot of confusion because I think it was right before some of these laws went into effect.
Right.
Where do we stand in California in terms of limits on ammo and things like that? Because there was a lot of fear that, oh my God, I can only buy so many rounds.
No, there's no cap. There's no caliber restrictions.
No cap, get it? You're funny.
There's no ammo restrictions whatsoever. I mean, it's just based upon, they just do a quick check. Are you prohibited? And do you have a firearm registered? And the $1 check will go right through.
Phone number is 888-989-9811 for Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. Go ahead, Don.
Hey, good morning.
Hi.
Morning.
Hey, so Eddie, I got a question for you. So I'm looking into buying a Smith & Wesson 1022, which, it's like an assault rifle style rifle. But long story short, I was told that it doesn't apply for the California assault rifle ban because it's a rim fire bullet and not a center fire bullet.
Yeah, that's correct. The center, it's only center fire that the assault weapon regulations come into play. For rim fire, for the rimfire, it's there's no restrictions. I mean, there's still a 10-round magazine restriction, but the pistol grip, the evil features doesn't apply to that. So,
okay. Are your headphones working good? Okay, cool.
So, I hate when that happens.
Behind the scenes technical stuff, and you knew none of it. What a pro Eddie was. He still was able to hear the question and answer the question, but we had to have Brandon run in to make sure everything was up and running.
We're like, oh my God, help is on the way, and you are continuing to talk. That is amazing.
That was good stuff, man. All right. Next.
Adapt and overcome, right?
Exactly.
This is from a name withheld woman.
Hi, woman.
RAD@radradio.com. She says, I would like to become more knowledgeable and learn how to care for and shoot a gun, maybe even own one. My concern is, this is what I was referring to earlier, that I never heard this one. My concern is I was born with one hand, and I'm not sure if I could handle a gun safely. To clarify, I have two arms, but my left stops just past the elbow. I'm extremely proficient the way I am and have adapted to living in a two-handed world, and I would love to hear your thoughts.
Wow, that's amazing.
Interesting. I haven't had that come up yet, but I'm pretty sure if she came in, we could look at some different options for her. I mean, semi-automatic is probably going to be more difficult unless there's an appliance she can use for her for non-hand for working it. But I mean, you could use a revolver. There's some options that she may have with that, so we could always take a look at seeing if there's a way to adapt to that.
And obviously people can adapt, and I've got to believe, as you allude to, there's got to be some type of accessories. I mean, we have a lot of vets coming back that learned to shoot with two hands, and they're missing various limbs, and they're still proficient. So there's got to be a way to get. And it sounds like she's never done it, but certainly don't be intimidated. And that's what we always like to preach with you: is get into NorCal, because you guys are so welcoming, and you always have an answer, and you're not going to look. Honest to God, I can see another gun shop going, really? Really?
Man,
One
that'd
hand?
be rude.
And you're a woman.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Well, she had the question also about any kind of training. So we're developing a care and feeding classes for your firearms. We'll have one for handguns, one for rifles, one for shotguns. You'll be able to come in, we'll discuss your particular firearm. We'll talk about firearms in general, just kind of a basic class.
Nice.
And then you're going to take it apart under our supervision. You're going to clean it. You're going to put it back together, and you're going to get more knowledgeable about your firearm in particular, so that you're comfortable with it. That's half the battle.
When is that?
We're trying to look. We're looking at mid-October, mid-no.
Which month is it?
I know.
I think probably about 2 or 3 weeks.
Well, text me so that we can remind people, because
absolutely.
that would be a great class for somebody who owns guns and hasn't been out in a while.
Yeah.
In fact, my wife and I were just talking about, I don't know if you remember, Eddie, we were in your store recently, and at one point you put a gun in front of Christina to have her close it up, and she looked at me in horror, and I looked at her in horror, because for a minute we completely lost the muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
Because sometimes if you haven't been out shooting and you haven't cleaned your gun in a while, you just literally in a moment you forget, and that's a bad, because when you need to know how to handle your gun, you've got to be able to remember on the spot.
These are one of those things people get intimidated by, which I'm glad you're doing this, because I know you guys won't make anybody feel that way. But you'll want to ask that question. I know in the past I have, but it's like you're afraid to ask, because everyone you're around knows guns and they know everything about them, and here you are like, well, I can shoot it, but I don't know all this other stuff that I know I'm supposed to be doing. And you feel like an idiot. Yeah. So that's so cool you're going to do that.
Hello there, Ryan. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Hey, good. What's up?
I wanted to ask Eddie, I inherited a rifle from my grandfather when he passed away, and I had wanted to ask if I need to register it under my name.
I mean, it's never a bad idea this way. If there's anything comes up, there's any questions, and that you can do that through online through an intrafamilial transfer. You just fill out the form. You'll put in your information, the firearm information, who you got it from, be your grandfather, your right deceased, and then you'll put the $19 check in, send it in, and about 2-3 months later, you get a letter that it's registered to you. It's pretty simple.
If nothing else, it's a cover your ass thing too, because if you actually wind up using the weapon in any type of situation where law enforcement gets involved, you just want to have that T crossed.
And you don't have to in California go turn it in while all that's happening, and then you get it back.
No.
Hello there, AJ. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Eddie, if I decide to come into a place that has an indoor firing range and I want to rent one of their weapons to fire at their indoor range, are any of these new laws about getting ammo in effect for me buying ammo at that location to use at their range?
Well, there's an interesting question.
There's a provision for range. So when you go into the range, there's no ammo background check if you use all of the ammunition that you're purchasing there at the range. So if you go into one of the indoor ranges, you buy 2-3 boxes of ammo, you shoot it all, there's no ammo check.
Now, if you bring your own ammo, it's already yours, and they don't run you through a check again, right?
Correct.
I feel like I signed something after I bought ammo. We're signing stuff now, right?
Yeah,
it was weird.
Good for you to pay attention and remember.
No, I was trying to remember because you're signing. There's different things you're signing, and it was kind of weird. Having to do that. I mean, whatever, we'll adjust. You do what you got to do, but it was really strange.
It's just like buying Sudafed now. Phone number is 888-989-9811 for Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. This is from Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Says, I have a question for Eddie from the Gun Vault. Well, that is very convenient because he's here. It's NorCal Gun Vault,
Fortuitous.
you dummy. Says, I have a few guns I don't use regularly, and I would like to get into hunting. Do you have a trade-in program that I can use to trade in guns to go towards the purchase of a new hunting rifle?
We don't purchase firearms. We don't have a trade-in, but we do consign firearms on site, which is kind of like you renting some of our real estate for your firearm to sell there, and then there's a fee. So if you take cash, we take 25% of the sale price. If you decide to leave it as in-store credit to purchase something new, we only take 15%. So
what are your
Nice.
what does the gun need? I mean, you obviously have some type of quality control. So he says he's got these guns, are kind of old, he hasn't used them. So what do you look for when people come in and go, I want to put my gun on the wall?
it just, is it in safe working condition? Basic.
That's it?
As much as we can tell. I mean, if it's rusted, things like that. If it's pretty old, if it's not usable. We know a lot of people that collect guns, so maybe it's not something that would go on the wall, but we could call some folks and see if they're interested in it as well. So there's some avenues that we have, especially for old antique guns.
Next email is from Ann.
Hi, Ann.
Says, hi, Eddie. I'm looking into buying a gun for myself, and I'm still trying to find the right fit. I've gone to a gun range to try shooting a few. I like a 22, but I've been told that it's not good for protection because it's basically a glorified BB gun. We'll do these one at a time. Would you agree with that?
22 is probably one of the more deadly firearms out there because it was used by the mafia a lot when they did their hits. So, your Saturday night specials, things like that. So it's potent enough if you know how to use it. I mean, you look at the shooting of Reagan. I mean, that wasn't.
So if someone was in NorCal Gun Vault and they were asking about home protection and they were for whatever reason prone to a 22, you wouldn't say, oh, but that's not a good weapon for home protection.
I would probably steer them towards maybe some of the smaller calibers, like a 380 or something. But it's there's options. But if it really is the only thing they're comfortable with, then we'll try and figure out some manner for them to be.
Interesting you said that, because her next sentence is, I tried out a 380 today. It was a SIG 238, and I liked that it was nice and small and fit in my hand. Girls.
No.
But for some reason, I wasn't as good of a shot with it. I was frustrated I couldn't seem to hit the damn bullseye like I did just fine with the 22. Yeah. I've tried other calibers that my husband likes to shoot. They were 9mm, but they felt too big and powerful in my hands.
Stop it.
And I'm just not that comfortable with them. Yes, I'm a girl, haha. I'd like to come into NorCal Gun Vault to see what you have, but I want to make sure I like the way it shoots before I commit to buying one. What else might be out there that's a good smaller gun, or should I just practice more with the SIG 238?
Well, I mean, you've got a couple of options. For the 380, you've got the Versa Firestorm, and you've got a Ruger LC 380, or LCP 380, and it just depends on what's going to fit in your hand better and what you like. The Sig Sauer, I think, is a more reliable gun. It's a little bit easier to maintain. As far as hitting the target, that's just probably just technique. I mean, it's something you can work on in a range. And if you came in and talked to us and tell us how you're shooting, we might be able to offer some suggestions to help you improve.
We do get that question a lot. We talked about it last time you were here. Somebody who either has never shot a gun, or like her, she's trying to shoot guns. When they come into NorCal Gun Vault, you don't have a range right there. Right. So how do you bridge that gap between somebody going, well, okay, it feels, when I hold it, okay, it feels good, but how do I know what I'm going to do on the range? What do you say to them at that point?
You're just going to have to go and shoot and see where the bullets hit. I mean, you're always trying to aim center mass, center of the target. So you can kind of get a feel for if you're shooting to the left or shooting low left, shooting right. There's some things that people tend to do commonly that can be corrected. It just takes maybe just some advice and having them go back to the range and try it. There's some training pieces that we have called the Mantis X, which can help you with trigger training and show you where you're doing some of that stuff as well as, and that we have equipment that it can show you that.
It is fascinating too. If you go out and you shoot on a regular basis, you'll eventually identify, unless you're just like a natural amazing shot, those little quirks, and then you can choose to do one of two things. You can have somebody fix it or help you fix it, or you can just adjust. Like I learned early on, for whatever reason, I go up and to the left just slightly from where I'm aiming. So I just aim a little bit lower and to the right from where I'm trying to hit, and you just adjust. It's a trick you learn in golf, actually. Jack Nicklaus used to say, if you're hitting a slice on the range, then you just play a slice all day. Don't try to fix it. It's kind of the same idea, but getting out there and shooting is so important to learn all those things. Hello,
staying proficient.
Ethan, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I have a question about a gun that I own, a 9mm car pistol, and it jams. So it only happens every now and then. I've cleaned it. I've looked at everything. Everything looks fine. And sometimes when I cock it back to get it going, since it's semi-automatic, it'll jam, and then I hit the butt of the gun, and then that'll make it snap back and be able to shoot. I'm wondering if there's something in the mechanism that I'm not seeing that's making it jam.
The car pistols have they have some small jamming issues. From my knowledge, what I've been instructed on, they have a very high angle feed ramp, and so some hollow point ammo, some ammo will jam. It's kind of picky on ammo. So if you notice that it's not really jamming with full metal jacket or target ammo, what you could do is find a gunsmith, have them polish the feed ramp, polish the breech, kind of smooth that area up a little bit. That may reduce it, and then just finding out what ammo really kind of works the best for you. You may want to come buy a couple of boxes of ammo, try it, or bring it in. Maybe we can throw some ammo and see if we can make a jam.
Hello, Joe.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Hey.
My question for you guys is for when buying ammo now, being the fun task it is, do they ask for the amount and the type? Like, is that put in some sort of database, or are they just asking for your buying ammo and that's it?
No, we have to enter the caliber, the round count, and the brand for they're tracking that. Yes.
The other thing that I like, I get that initial reaction of like all the garbage they put us through. It's ridiculous. But when you go and do it, it really wasn't, I didn't find it to be a big deal in the sense of like, we're standing there talking to y'all. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're ringing us up. We're paying for it, whatever, scan's being done. And then that was that. And it's not like we then were told we can't come in tomorrow. We could have come in the next day and bought more. And the next day after that, there wasn't like anything that said you no longer, you have to wait 30 days. Or, I mean, then I could understand us all starting to get a little annoyed. It's I don't know. It's the time frame, I guess, if everything checks out of your license and all the stuff you already went over. It's the same time frame of them, checking you out, right? Scanning your purchases and paying.
The 30-day thing was floated, and so a lot of people are worried about the slippery slope. And then another thing people are concerned about is if you do go in there day after day after day, that eventually somebody's going to knock on your door and say, "Excuse me, we see you've bought a lot of ammo lately." There's no indication that's occurring yet, but those are the paranoias that are out there. There are a lot of ammo questions, as I mentioned. We got this from Steve.
Hi, Steve.
He says, "Do you have to own a gun to buy ammo? I have a gun in my name, but my wife doesn't. Can she purchase ammo?"
That'll be the $19 check where they're actually going to run through and check her record. Really, it's if she owns a firearm, has one registered, then it runs through that automated system and it's quick. But she could come in and do the basic check, which is $19. The $19 is you do the check, you get the email saying you're approved. And basically, you get a number, you get a card that's good for one purchase within 30 days. So she can come back in and buy it. If you're in a hurry, like, "Hey, babe, go out and buy me some hunting ammo," not going to happen.
And she does that $19 check, and then does she have to do the $19 check again
Every
2 months?
single
Oh,
time.
for the love!
Well, that'll get everyone to get their licenses matched to where they live.
Just come get a
we
firearm.
all forget. Oh, buy a firearm.
Yeah, just have her buy a gun.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that.
There's
Come buy
a
a
sales
22.
pitch.
Yes!
I've been saying it to everybody.
But this $19 is going to add up to the price of a gun.
Come in. I got plenty of 22s you can buy.
We got this email from Rachel. We're talking with Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. Rachel says, "What's a good age for my daughter to start learning about guns, and are there specific classes for children?"
The hunter safety course is kind of geared in they can teach kids as low as, I've seen them come in as low as young as 8. It's written at about a 12-year-old level, but if you've worked with your child and they understand it and they study just like anything else, they can take the test. And the company that we work with, Northern Firearm Instructions, are really good at dealing with the children. Mike, the instructor that comes to our place, just absolutely loves working with the kids and seeing the smiles on their faces when they take that big test.
What's the youngest you've seen a child take to shooting safely and responsibly?
Probably 6 years old. That and that's just from my recent experience. I mean, when I was a kid, we understood. We had firearm knowledge, just not from Dad sitting down and pulling them apart, but more was...
Your dad was a cop, right?
Right. So they were in the house. We understood them. We'd been to the range. We'd watched them shoot, things of that nature. I don't think I picked up a .357 at 6 years old, but it's in some places in the South. Kids at 4 years old have their own firearms. So you can build it into the culture of your children.
And to her question of the ideal age, those are all the factors that go into it. It's maturity of child. Have they ever seen a gun?
Right.
Do they have any knowledge of it? Things like that. It's not a number.
Right.
Hello there, Julie. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
I have a question about psychiatric holds. I have a brother who was put on a 5150 back in 2017, and I know that that's a 5-year ban, but he was also placed on a 5250, and I was told that that's a lifetime ban. The reason why I'm curious about this more than anything is we're inheriting my grandfather's Civil War guns, and we didn't know if there was anything different that we could do, if there's any appeals, because otherwise they all come to me, and I don't know what to do with them. So that's my question.
Yeah, the restrictions of the 5150, I'm not familiar with the 5250. I'd have to do some reading up on that, but I know with the 5150, it's 5 years. Since it was in 2017, it's a 5-year. If it happened after January 1st, 2019, it's basically lifetime, but you can appeal every 5 years. So they altered the law a little bit. But
if it was, let's do it this way. If it was a 5150, do you know? Like if he's under the 5 year, let's say, and he were to inherit a gun or want to inherit a gun, could he do that during that 5 year ban?
No.
So it's likely that at under 5250 it might be the same thing.
Right. So it's probably going to come to you. You'll be the caretaker of the firearms until he can, get through the 5150 restrictions, and that's if he gets through them. So
that's oh my gosh, that sounds amazing though. Like the history
Civil
of that.
War gun?
Honestly, yeah. And she says she doesn't know what to do with them. What would you to put them on? Display them or put them in a glass case?
Yeah, you could
like
do that.
that's amazing.
You could take possession of them and then talk to someplace about maybe curating them and putting them on display. That's possible.
I mean, wow.
Phone number is 888-989-9811 for Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. We got this follow-up from Mark. We had the girl write in and said, I only have one hand. I've got two arms, but one of them stops at the elbow. Mark wrote in and said, as far as firing a gun with one hand with rifles, depending on what part of the arm is missing, and with her it was elbow and below, there are various ways to cradle the rifle that can be very effective and accurate. In the Marines, it's one of the ways we actually were taught to fire long distance from the standing position. You served in which branch?
Navy.
Were you taught this as well, Eddie?
I know about it. I mean, when we shot M14s, it was one of the ways that you could qualify. You could shoot that.
Hello there, Sam. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, go.
My question is transporting ammunition across state lines. I've been told that California residents cannot go to another state, purchase ammunition, and come into the state with more than 50 rounds, or even exit the state with more than 50 rounds. What's the law on that?
Well, you can't come into the state with it. It's kind of made a sticky wicket for hunters. I've been trying to get some real good clarification on out-of-state hunters coming in, and it's still pretty gray. And again, the law is still pretty new, so it's going to take some massaging before we get it right. But
what about exiting the state with ammo?
I mean, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Well, that came up recently with somebody that we know that's going out of state. You can take the ammo out of state with you, and you can bring that ammo back with you.
Okay.
But they have been checking. I know at the Reno, there's been a couple people who said they got stopped at the ag station, and they're going to ask you, do you have any ammo with you? So that's starting to come up on the radar for that.
So if you head to Montana to hunt some elk and you run out of ammo and you have to buy ammo in Montana, you can't bring that back legally.
Why?
With you? Because it's the law. Don't ask.
Because you didn't get checked, right? I mean, it's.
Oh my God! It's the same stuff you would have bought here.
But it's to prevent somebody who's prohibited from going out of state and coming back in with it.
Right, and
fine, it's the law. I appreciate you.
So you're not even supposed to bring it back. Now, if you do bring back ammo, this is just in the weeds type stuff. If you do, for some reason, if you get through the line with ammo from another state, are you then supposed to report that you have it? Is there that mechanism set up? Because that'll be next.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's some.
Jesus.
No, there's no way around it.
Did the laws change in regards to guns? Because I remember, this is going 7 years back or so. We were in Arizona and we were thinking of buying a gun there, and we called our county we live in, and they said, yes, go ahead, just have it, not loaded and in the back of your truck, whatever, and then bring it straight to a gun shop to have it registered. Is that still okay?
You have to make sure that it's on the California roster, though. If you bring it in to register,
it can't be
right?
Okay, it has to be a gun.
If you had a dual residency, like I know somebody that had a house in Arizona and California, he could purchase whatever he wanted to in Arizona, bring it in, and then declare it. when he comes in. There's no registration. You're just kind of filling out paperwork to declare it. And that was a way of...
It can't be like the judge. It's
Right.
got to be a gun that's legal.
Phone number is 888-989-9811. We got Eddie from NorCal Gun Vault. Lots of emails coming in. I need some time to read them, so I can ask Eddie these questions. RAD@radradio.com.